when I should have let myself but I couldn't have. Oh no, I couldn't have. I always open my gut when I shouldn't have. Oh no, I shouldn't have.
The bean juice that makes me like people, you know, it gives me a little bit of a boost.
Yep.
I'm walking around with me little jar in the morning classes, man. So I want to start there, working hard until your idols become your rivals. Because I think a lot of people have heard that before. But I'm going to ask you a question. What does that feel like?
Does it feel like that is? It's definitely an interesting feeling, I would say. It makes me nervous but excited, and like I feel like I have a lot more room to grow and I want to eventually beat them, but I'm still very excited to be able to compete with them and kind of see where I rank and how I respond to that type of environment, because it's definitely a new environment to have them literally right next to you. Like it's now this person that I've been watching on the screen is standing next to me and I am supposed to race against them. So that brings on like nervousness, right? Because you're like, oh my gosh, this person. But it's also kind of exciting and it makes me I'm not sure what the word is, but like I feel almost like emboldened. Like I'm like, okay, yeah, like let's do it. Let's compete against this person. Let's show them what we got. Let's scare them a little bit. Because I mean, it's like a new person. I know for me, whenever I go up against someone who is like younger than me or like newer and I don't know, I am also nervous because I'm like, oh, I don't know what they're about to throw. It's like a you have no idea what deck of cards they have. But like I know what the older, like more professional athletes have been doing. So kind of both ways. It's like on one hand, I'm like, I know that I have to show up in order to beat them or even get close. And I know that I got to give it my A game. Then when like someone new comes, you're like, oh, I have no idea what they're about to throw. I really just gotta kind of go for it.
Yeah,
it's an interesting feeling.
It's the beauty of being a rookie, right?
Yeah.
You know,
that is the beauty of being a rookie and the underdog.
Yeah, and it's like essentially it's a frontier. You know, it's like, wow, anything goes here, guys. We're going to try something and we're just going to see where we rank, you know, because like as the leagues get harder and harder and you end up getting promoted, you go to bigger and bigger competitions, it's almost like the philosophies need to change, you know, in terms of training.
For sure.
You're like, okay, well, we're going to test what we've done so far in this new league with the big dogs. And sometimes you see athletes, you're like, hold on a minute, they've just been promoted, they've just gone to these new competitions and now they're dominating or at least getting bloody close. And it's like, yeah, that's most of the time not the case. But it's a kind of a, well, let's figure it out. Have we been doing the right things for this environment? And the answer is usually yes and no, right? And then he's like, okay, great. We've got all this new data and all this new learning curves that we can then dissect and come back together with athlete coach and training partners and all that as a team and be like, right, now how do we dominate this environment? And then the same as the next, right? And world champs, Olympics, youth, when it goes to senior, they're all different environments, whether it's a home turf away and, you know, traveling, it's all these new little stimulus that actually play a factor into the human experience. And now we're also trying to put it into max performance. You know, like the everyday folk will look at somebody like yourself and be like, oh yeah. To like quote unquote optimize, to use a buzzword these days, the human performance is difficult for my work output. And you're like, okay, great, but you're sat on your ass. Like we've now got somebody who's trying to optimize and peak their performance mentally.
Right.
and physically at the same time in that new place. That's fucking hard.
Yes, it is. Yeah, for sure.
So why? Why do it?
Oh, why do it? Oh man. Oh, I like difficult things. If it was easy, it wouldn't be worth it.
Mm.
If it was easy, if it was just like given to you, then be like, oh, like okay. I know for me personally, like so I competed at the Pan American Games in November and I came away with two medals. One of them was a bronze and one of them was a silver, and I was happier with the bronze because it was I had to fight for that medal. Like I got it by like a tiny I had to fight mentally and physically because I remember so for the 100 there was a prelim and a final, and my coach literally had to be like, you have to stop looking at the other people, like you gotta just lock in on yourself because if you keep looking at them it's not going to be good. Don't watch them, don't look at them, don't I want you to do nothing for the next 2 hours while you wait for this prelim, like do not do anything or for final. And that was harder, like locking in and being ready for that 100 final and like finally executing that race was so much harder than the long jump. uh because the long jump I one had felt a little bit more prepared, but I had a personal best in the 100, and then the long jump I didn't feel like I jumped well. I was like, well, I got a silver, but I didn't really jump my best. Like I
Yeah.
kind of there was a lot of things that went wrong for me. And it's crazy when so that bronze means more, and that's I would say like that's why it's like for those fights, because then you could say that like you fought for something and you worked for it and all of these things, yeah, they aligned, but you also like set yourself up for when opportunity met preparedness, like you were prepared and the opportunity presented itself and you like attacked it.
Mm.
So
I can empathize with that real hard. And I always remember being in the pool back in the day, being a swimmer. And I was like, well, a silver medal always used to piss me off because it's like you lost to first, but a bronze medal means you beat fourth place. And it's this weird mental game that you're kind of stuck in, right? And to bridge on what you're saying, like even if you get that gold medal, for I'd say I'd say most athletes are intrinsically motivated.
right.
And if you get that gold medal, you okay, congratulations, you got the W, you got the win. Individual sports and team sports, it's like it's not quite enough. You didn't beat it by a big enough margin. You didn't feel like you executed your game plan well enough. You didn't feel like, you pushed yourself hard enough. And there's always those little degrees that you can keep on figuring out, right? And we see it
Right.
with the naked eye objectively in data and distance in time and score and all that. I'm interested in the athlete, right? Because they see it, they interact with the data, but they also interact with themselves, and it's that internal dialogue of like, I could have gone a little faster, a little further, a little better, a little longer, and they end up essentially going deeper within themselves to then find that extrinsic performance, but they've actually had to go further internally.
Yeah, for sure. There's been times, a lot of times in practice where I I I try to mimic practices in the meets, right? Like try to or mimic meet in practice and like perform as well as I would in a meet, because you never know what's gonna happen in a meet. You want to know that like you have me personally, like I like to know that I have like the numbers to back it up. Like okay, like I've been doing this and practice. Like I've for long jump, for example, like I've been jumping like 4.5 consistently every time. I should show up at a meet and I should be able to jump 4.5 because I've been doing it every day. So practice to me is a really important way to kind of baseline what you're gonna do in a meet. And sometimes like at practice, I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like I can't even go over 4.2. Like I know that I have it in me. Like I have this gear that I'm not hitting. And then sometimes I literally just like sit there and I close my eyes. I'm like, okay. And I have to break down every tiny like little aspect of what is happening. Like, is my first step okay? Am I driving out long enough? Am I taking too long to transition? How many steps is that transition? Am I getting up to speed? Am I looking at the board? Like all of these, and literally taking down all of the phases and breaking them down and then like rebuilding into like what is like the perfect jump for you at the moment. And I will literally be in practice and I'm like dead staring at the board, and that is what is going through my mind. It's just like I'm like, okay, I have this, and then I have this step, and then I have this step, and then I have this step, and then I'm just gonna finish the jump. And that is, it's an interesting, like a lot of people are just like, wait, track is so easy, you just run. It's like it's there's so much more because there's so many. There you could have one in, especially at the elite level, one misstep could be the difference between winning gold and getting sixth or not even making the final. And it's by literally that much that you either win or you get second, or yeah, so it's intense.
What is that process like? Do you find it meditative in a way where you kind of hit this flow state and you feel at peace with yourself? Or do you think it's more towards the side of it's a fucking itch that you just can't scratch and it's almost annoying?
I would say both things actually, because I had it explained to me one time by like a mental performance coach. They were like, we talk about being in the zone, and the zone is something you're only in like 15% of the time. You really can't control. Sometimes you're in it, sometimes you're not. You may be on the biggest stage and you're not in the zone. And
Yeah.
the zone is when everything's clicking, everything's working, you're on point, you're locked in. And really, all you can do in practice is to be as or work as hard to get into the zone, even though you're not hitting it. You try to react to things and to execute things as if you were in the zone, so that way when you are, you're not unprepared for what that's going to feel like. And I would say it is frustrating. There are times at practice where I am like, I know I have more, I know I have better in me, and I am not hitting that gear. I'm like, okay, times like those I have to step back and be like, all right, I'm not hitting this gear. Let me step back and see what I can do to either get there, or what can I work with what I have. Like, what do I have in my arsenal right now, and how can I better like work with this or work through this,
Yeah.
so that way it's still productive. I'm still getting better, even if I'm not hitting that like those top notches that I want to be hitting. Because realistically, like you're talking about being at your peak performance all the time, and that's unrealistic. You're not gonna every practice is not gonna be the best practice of your life. You're gonna have bad practices where you just can't get anything right. And that's human. That's expected. But it's like learning how to be like okay with that and still be motivated by it and still be like, all right, but I'm still a competitive athlete. I'm still getting better, even if today wasn't my best practice.
Mm. We have that conversation all the time with lifters. And to be honest, with sprinting and jumping, it's the same. It's still the neurological fatigue that you're going to experience. And it's like for the exact point that you just made of you can't hit your peak every day. That's not going to happen. The
Impossible.
outcome is not going to be the same every day, but the process to get there must be the same so that it becomes muscle memory, right? It becomes second nature. You watch any Olympic Games, World Championships, football, rugby, American football, whatever it is, like you watch any sport and the way people do things is exactly the same every time. I was like, they might not have the same level of intensity or output on the game or in the race or anything like that. And us in the gym, like just plain simple, everyday folk going to the gym twice a week, right? 3 times a week, whatever it is. Like, yep, the process should be the same. The warm up, very similar. It's all the same, but you're not going to be lifting the same amount. You're not going to be able to hold the same watts on a bike. It's okay, but it's the law of averages, right? Like it's just a scatter graph, and we've got to find
Yeah.
out where that average is, and we draw a line. And as long as it's 1 degree going up, we're going to be okay. And it's developing that mental process of, okay, how do I get myself there, even in the times that I don't feel like it? But also the physical robustness too, right? Because if we bite off more than we can chew, too fast, too quickly, we don't have enough, whatever to be able to withstand those forces. We don't have, strength or tensile strength in the ligaments and tendons or the bone density or whatever it is. It's like something will break. The weakest link will be found and it will snap.
Yes, it will. And it's not fun. I definitely have learned this season in particular. I'd say it's been my healthiest season so far. I'm not going real quick so I don't jinx that. But
That's good.
and I've had to learn to almost like put the jets off and just be like, all right, you're done. Like, don't do any more. You need to like relax. Now is the time to recover. It's like overtraining isn't actually a good thing. Like a 4 hour practice may not be as good as you think it is. Like maybe it's just better to have like a 1 hour practice that's really solid and just stop there because if you keep going, like what is you ride the line between improvement and then injury. It's like where is that? How far can I go? How hard can I push myself where I'm not hurting myself? Which is it's definitely a line that I learned the hard way. Like before the 2021 Tokyo trials, I was in a wheelchair for like 2 weeks because I pushed it too hard. Like I was like something had been bothering me and I was training too much. I was training like 6-7 days a week. 2 to 3 sessions. I was getting better, but I was getting better too fast and my body just broke literally mid race. It just broke on me and then I was in a wheelchair for 2 weeks and I was like, well, now I have to compete at these Tokyo trials and my body is not ready for it. And that cost me entrance into the games, honestly, because I was an alternate and if I hadn't pushed myself to that extreme level, I probably would have made it. But there's a plan, so I kind of like it wasn't my time, it wasn't meant to be. And then last season, which was heading into Worlds, I strained my hamstring like 2 months out, and then I just was coming back too soon. Like I would come back, be like, I'm good, and I wasn't good. And then I'd hurt myself all over again. Now I'm like, all right, now this thing is like 2 months old and it's still bothering me and it's not getting better. And yeah, but this season I take like 2 to 3 days off a week. One of those days is like a lifting day, but it's like 4 hard days and that is it. After that, you're like, all right, we're pumping the brakes. It's time to relax, recover, and get ready to be good for the next session.
I think the everyday person and even folks within the fitness umbrella, right, don't understand how little people need to train when it comes to peak output. I'm talking sprints, jumps, bobsled, fucking max lifts. It's like they're not in the fucking gym 7 days a week. They're not on the track 7 days a week. It's like, well, how do you expect them to actually recover? You're talking, I want you to give me everything you have when you're here. And if you don't, I want you to sleep. I want you to eat. I want you to do some recovery stuff. I was like, yeah, okay. We could take yoga as a training session. We could take the sauna as a training session if you really wanted to split hairs. Okay, understood. But they're not in the gym like absolutely smashing themselves or on the track or in the pool. It's not like that. It's a little different to the team sports that we all grow up loving, right? Whether it's basketball, baseball, European football, American football. I was like, yeah, but they're practicing skills. They're not going hard out all the time. It's like I play rugby, right? Rugby union. It's like we're not going full contact. We're practicing the skill of a line out. We're practicing the skill of a scrum, but it's not like we're going max effort in a scrum because your spine will give out. It's too much contact, and I think we don't do enough of a. I don't think we do a good enough job of actually saying, "Hey, you've done enough now. You have hit the required stimulus. It's supposed to be difficult, but there's no need to flog a dead horse. Let's get out. Let's calm down. Let's work on the mental game, which hinders a lot of athletes. Let's be honest. And then let's come again when we're ready."
For sure, and I think that's what separates you know, once you start getting to that level, that is what separates people. It's like, yeah, like the greats aren't on the track all the time. They're doing other things. They're swimming or doing like a recovery run. They're going slow on purpose to let your body recover from that stimulus and then readjust, because it's like you're changing the settings. Like when you put
Yeah.
all out on there, it's like, all right, you reach this like upper echelon, and then it's like, okay, now your body needs to come down from that, and you come down, like you're gonna be at a higher level than you were before when you come down, but you need to come down anyway so you can prepare to hit that again or hit above it. But you can't reach like max power output and then the next day try to do it again. Like your body is just gonna be like, bro, what are we doing here? What did
Mm.
you ask of us? Like it's just gonna shut down on you. Like you're just gonna crumble.
Mm.
And that's when like the mental come that's why I think that's why like, so I have learned a lot also is like sometimes I just can't think about track because I'm gonna want to go out there and like do stuff. I'm just thinking about what I need to improve on, what I need to get better. And sometimes like, all right, like yo, you need to take a step back because it's starting to get too much, and I need to like separate myself from the track version of myself, because that's gonna lead to trying too hard. It's kind of crazy because like you want to try your best, right? Everyone says like do your best, you got this, but it's actually the best. Any professional, I'm not, I mean, I would say I'm semi-pro, but any professional athlete will tell you like their best run, their best jump, it was easy. It flowed. They weren't forcing it. And that's where it's like you can't force those things. Like I've had the shittiest jumps where I'm like trying so hard to like get there, and it's just not going. I don't know if I'm allowed to curse, I'm sorry. But anyway.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Come on. Say what you want.
but but then like my best jumps have been like, man, that was easy. Like I was just in the moment, I was in the zone, and that's why it's like taking a step back and taking a step away from your sport, taking a step away from your what you're doing, what that is for you. You need to do that in order to be able to come back and reach those levels again.
Yeah, we call it hyperarousal or over-arousal in the
Mhm.
sports psych scene, right? Like someone's they're into it too much. I was like, yeah, we want to get fired up, but if you get fired up too much, like now we like kind of lose control of ourselves a little too much. Like again, you see it in talking from experience, whether it's the lifting or contact scene, people just lose their head. They hit the old
Oh,
red mist, right? And
for
you're like,
sure,
well,
it happens all the time.
what's going on? It's like, yeah, that flow state, that ease of, I've never jumped that far, I've never gone that fast, but it was rather easy. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
you are just in tune. Everything is flowing. You're recovered well enough, and you've put yourself in the best foot forward, pardon the pun. Mentally, you're in a good spot. You know, you're looking after yourself. You're actually thinking about the body, and the body's actually thinking about the mind, and it's just working. It's clicking.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the reps, and also the reps you didn't force, right? Leading up
Yeah,
to
because you
it.
can't do that under fatigue, under stress, under that doesn't exist in a place, because like when you're hurt or when you're recovering from something, either mentally or physically, like your your body and your brain is so focused on repairing itself, it doesn't have the capacity to reach that. Like that is just not in its toolbox. Like you can't reach that when you're trying to recover because your body's trying to like protect itself from any extra stuff, and it's like there's no way you're reaching that if you're not mentally like
Yeah.
calm and ready for it, and physically recovered and ready for it.
And neurologically, right, as well. Your
Yeah.
CNS is just not going to fire.
No, it's just not, it will just shut down.
Oh, yeah. You know, go in
Yeah.
and do a grip test, or go in and do a max broad jump or a max box jump or something like that. Try and do some straight leg box jumps. Give that a bash at the start of your session. And if you're like, I can barely even jump onto this bloody box, it's like, yeah, we probably shouldn't sprint today. Why? Because you've like put yourself in a higher risk of pulling a hamstring, or you probably shouldn't get underneath a heavy barbell today. You know, heavy and intensity is relative. It's a sliding scale. You know, like
Yeah.
high intensity does not mean 100% output of like what's your PR? Okay, we got to do that or get in 10% of the range of it. It's like no, high intensity is subjective measure, you know, and I think that's why I like it so much is because it develops the art of auto-regulation within the athlete, right? I was like, okay, how do you feel? I feel like shit. Okay, man. Well, how about we move our objectives and our goals today, but we're still going to get some stuff done. It's like, cool, we're going to work on feet placement. We're going to work on starts. We're going to work on whatever, you know? And it's like, all right, man, you've done good work. You've just not killed yourself to get it done. You know, it's not all
Yeah.
about getting It's like, you know, you might get 3 good days a year, but those 3 good days, they just need to be on the track when it counts. They just need to be on the
Yeah.
platform when it counts.
That's another thing, like, it doesn't matter what you do in practice. So what matters is what you do on the big stage. Like, you could be that's what I think I had a teammate back in school, and they were like, "Yeah, he's no practice hero, but at meets, this dude would like
Yeah.
shine." And it's like, yeah, so at practice, if you can be the all-star, that's fine. But if you're not doing that same thing in the meet, or if other people are like whooping your ass, well then like, you know, it's not that doesn't matter. It's like, okay, like, I'm really good at practice. Like, okay, but you can't do anything in a meet. That doesn't translate. So it's definitely it's like you gotta do it on the day.
There's training
That's what
athletes,
matters.
and then there's comp athletes, right? There's those people that need that extra little bit of anxiety to pull it out of them, and it's almost like they have a physiological and psychological handbrake on when they train because they can only ever really go to 75, 80%. And we grow up thinking that is a negative thing. And maybe it's not, you know,
Yeah, like it
maybe it's actually not.
if I mean there are definitely days where I am like on fire at practice and I'm just like, yeah, okay, I'm here. I'm cooking. Like this is good. And then there's days where I'm just like I can't even get within a percentage of what I'm doing. Like I'm at 75% max and I'm just and on those days you kind of just gonna be like, well, okay, just work with the 75 that you have. What so I think I was talking to my dad the other day. I was like, okay, did I give leading into Kobe? I've been worried that I'm not doing my best. Like I'm like, did I give enough? Like am I good enough to compete with these people? Like have I done everything I can? I was like, well, did I give 100% every single day? No, but that's not realistic. Did I give 100% of like what I had to work with on that day? Yes, and that's a different conversation because like some days you show up and showing up was the battle. Showing up was the achievement of the day. It's like, you know what? I was here when I really didn't want to be. Like I felt like absolute crap. My legs hurt, my hamstring hurts. Like I need to sleep for about 20 hours before I can feel okay again. And then some days it's like, yeah, I just slept for like I had a great night's sleep. I had a great workout meal. Like I have been on fire. I'm ready to go. And like the percentage, you just want to give what you have on those respective days. And that is enough. That is all you need to do as an athlete is just give what you have when you have it. And if you don't have it, like what can you work on? Like if you're not feeling particularly good today, okay, like let's work on how we're thinking about this jump. Let's work on our first step. We're not even running. We're just taking one step. Let's work on that. Let's work on like in lifting because I lift a lot too. Like you have to as an athlete, right? It's like, all right, so I'm not quite getting myself under the bar very well. All right, well, let me work on like how I'm preparing for this. Let me work on how I'm pushing up. Like there's other things to work on besides like having to hit like a number or having to hit a time. Like those things are really trivial in a practice for most practices. They're really just there as guides, but they're not really like necessary in order to know that you're getting better. Sometimes getting better is just showing up.
Mm. Control the controllables, right?
Yes, that is control the controllables for sure. And those things are sleep and diet and recovery. Can't control how you're gonna feel at practice, but you can control what you do to get ready for practice. And that's why like I think warm-ups are so important because it's almost like at this point I have like a formula. It's like, all right, A plus B plus C plus D is equal to my optimal performance. And as long as I'm doing A, B, C, and D, like I'm controlling what I can to be ready for this performance. But if you don't do those things, you don't know what's going to happen. Sometimes you get lucky and sometimes you don't, but why leave it up to chance? Like why let that happen?
Why leave it up to chance? I like that.
Yeah, don't leave it. I don't like leaving things up to chance. Chance hasn't really been on my side, so I tend to try to control as much as possible. It's like let me control everything that I can.
That sounds like an athlete.
Yeah, does it now? Yep.
I mean, I got 3 questions.
Okay.
What's the greatest piece of life advice you've ever received?
All right. I gotta think about this one. Greatest piece of life advice I've ever received. Okay. There's a little bit of a story behind this. I would say I didn't receive it, but so I did taekwondo as a kid. My parents got me into it because of my disability. They wanted me to have like an outlet and something I could do that was physical to help manage it. And I did taekwondo for 10 years. And about 4 years in, I was testing for my black belt. And one of the requirements for black belt testing is you actually had to come in with a quote, and you had to come in with the quote and the author of the quote, along with it was like a 10-hour event. So there was a lot of other things you had to do, but one of the things you had to do was come in with a quote and the author. And the quote I picked was, "Whether you say you can or you can't, you're right either way," by Tom Ford. And that, I mean, I was 8 years old and I'm 20 now, so 12 years ago I picked out that quote, and that quote has stuck with me for 12 years just because I find that so much of life, not just sport, but just life, is how you present the situation and how you're going to attack a situation, which is a competitive way to do that. How are you going to attack this situation, whether it be sport, whether it be school, whether it be life, whether it be work, whether it be, I don't know, turning on your car? Like, how are you going to go at it? And if you come at it from like an I can do this, I am ready mindset, then you've half the battle. You've won half the battle. If you come at it from a negative mindset, like I can't do this, you've lost already before you've even started. Like you've already lost. There's not even a chance. I said I don't like to leave things up to chance, and that is like that takes chance. There is no way you're doing it if you say you can't do something. So you might as well say you can and work with what you got than say you can't and lose before you've even started.
Mm.
So I would say that's the best piece of life advice I've ever heard is whether you say you can or you can't, you're right either way.
It's based off Confucius, who was an ancient philosopher in China.
Yeah, I
That's
know that.
that's what he said. Yeah, he's based off Confucius. Yeah, I heard that one a long time ago, and it's that stuck with me as well.
Yeah, I like that one. I
What's
wrote it on a little notebook.
what's the worst piece of life advice you've ever received?
The worst piece life advice. That was also a tough one. I would say I don't know if this is I feel like I'm low key going off topic for both of these, but the first thing I thought of was I had someone say to me when I was in high school. They were like, "You're always going to be a worker bee, and if any of these worker bees had any, or if any of these other bees had any of the drive that you do, they'd be queens. But you're always going to be a worker bee because like you're going to try so hard and you're never going to get anywhere." And I was like, that sat with me for a little bit because I thought about how like I myself am a person who works really hard, and it's a does talent beat hard work kind of situation where I have always been the hardworking person and I've never been the talent person.
Mm.
But hearing that the hardworking, basically what they were saying to me was that the hardworking person can't beat the talent person. And that I think is the worst piece of advice I've ever heard because you you can't control someone else's ability from the start. Like, you can only control your ability, and I just don't like that talent beats hard work. It's not. I'm not saying that some people are innately better. Like, that just happens. That's life. Some people are genetically predisposed to be better at one thing or another. It happens. But you can overwork or outwork your opponents by being smart. And it's not in a hard working way. It's in a I'm going to be smart about my choices and how I go about things, and which is different than hard work. But because sometimes you can work hard and still not get there because you're not being intelligent and thoughtful with your choices. But yes, had the fact that someone will always be a worker bee and never make it past that was probably the worst life advice I've ever had. Like, if you're a worker bee, you're always gonna be a worker bee. You're never gonna be a queen bee. Like, you can be a motherfucking queen. You just gotta be smart about it.
I like that, mate. Hmm. I'm gonna be thinking about that for a while. I got one more question though.
Go ahead.
What are the 3 words you would tell your younger self?
3 words.
Yeah.
Only 3? That's hard. Ooh, that's not a lot of words. 3 words I would tell my younger self. Is it like 3 separate words, or is it like a sentence?
Oh, it's up to you. These are your words.
Oh man, these are my words. Okay. I would say be proud and conquer,
Hmm.
which is technically 4. But if I take out the and, it's 3.
Be proud, conquer.
Yeah.
Hmm. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
This has been an honor and a privilege, mate, and I can't wait to hear what you do over in Japan.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited. It's
Keep-
gonna be good.
Keep us up to date.
For sure, for sure.
Thank you so much. You have a wonderful day, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you very much. Yep, you as well.
Pleasure, mate.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.